Today I'm going to change the spark plugs on a 2015 Porsche Macan. So, first thing you have to do, I'm on the driver's side, is remove two T30 screws on the coolant reservoir. There's one back, one over here. I've already taken the clip off, but clip pops right off. Push down the tab, pull it off. And I've already loosened these screws. So just remove the screws, put them in a safe spot. And then it gives you some movement to get in the back of the spark plugs. And again, there's 3 spark plugs each side. 1, 2, 3. So I'll go through the steps to remove each item and then reinstall. Okay? On the driver's side, once I've disconnected the coolant reservoir, I also disconnected this device too, and to give more room. And I'm also going to undo the 4 screws for the air cleaner behind there, pull this off, slide up the door here just to give me more room to access it. It may not be necessary, but I'm going to do it. Now that I removed the air cleaner, you can see you have so much more room to work for the 2 plugs right there. So again, I recommend taking out the air cleaner. It's about a 1-minute step, and it allows you so much more room on the driver's side and probably the passenger side to work. Now, before you can get the coil packs off of the front too, you need to take off this protective plastic plate so you have room to pull the coil out. There are snaps. It's hard to picture. I'll show you when I'm off too. But right there, if you stick a screwdriver in, there's a little snap. There's another 2 up here, and then one in the back, which I had to get into from behind the water, behind the reservoir. But that'll pop loose, and then you can get to the coil pack. Very important, just get a long screwdriver, which I have here, and I would just insert it there to pop the little clip. Okay, so then you loosen that before you can get the coil pack off. Here's a better picture of that plate covering the front 2 coils on the driver's side, and you can see those little holes there. That's the spots where they clip in. So again, just use a long screwdriver and pop them off, and now you can see all the coils are exposed, the front 2. Okay, now on the driver's side, after I've taken that plate off, I'm going to take these 2 screws off, one here, one there, with an E50 male lug nut. Okay. To get off those 2 bolts, I use this configuration for my ratchet. And I've taken now that bolt and then the back bolt off, and now I'm ready to take the coil packs off. So to get the coil pack off, let me zoom in a bit. You want to depress the clip right here, and then it'll come right off the coil right there. Okay, so I'm going to stop and take these off. You're going to have to wiggle that coil pack off both sides with some force, because the suction's pretty great. But anyway, then you just remove it to expose the spark plug, which I'm going to take out now. I'm going to get the last spark plug closest to the driver, way in the corner. So that one's a little tougher to get to, but with a universal, you're okay. What I did to get to that last driver's side plug, I put a screwdriver holding up the coolant reservoir, just support it up just to get out of your way. So now I have a clear path right to the plug, right to the coil, okay? So I suggest using something, otherwise you're trying to hold up the coolant container yourself. I bought this attached 5/8 socket, as well as the small extension on the 3/8 ratchet. Works out great to get the last spark plug on the driver's side, way in the back. I use that, a small extension, universal, and then the long extension, and it worked great to get to it. I just reclipped in the plugs to the coil, and before I did that, I cleaned around the female side from the coil with some just some 409, just to clean it, so when you snapped it in, get all the dirt away. I did all 3 coils, and then I didn't show replacing the screw. I'll show it on the other side, but again, the 3 screws to put the coil back in was pretty simple. And I replaced the screws I took out of the plastic retaining piece, and then I'll put the final cover, which I'll show in a second, over, and then I'm done this side, except for putting the coolant back on. So to replace the cover over the wires, just again, it's hard to see, but it'll kind of slide over, but your guide is those nut holders. You can see how it's cut out. So just do that on both sides, and then clip it in. You heard that lock, and then do the other side. Okay, and you're done that side of the spark plugs. So now I'm going to start the passenger side, and again, I'm going to take the air cleaner unit off, take the side door, take the air filter off, because it's easier to get access to these with your ratchet. And then the only thing you have to do on this side are take this bolt off again, and take that bolt off, and take this bracket off. The passenger side seems so much easier than the driver's side, but again, there's 3, so everything seems accessible. The final plug will be just a little more difficult getting access, but not really. But the front 2 will be easy. So again, I'm going to take the air cleaner off, take the side door off, take the air cleaner out to give you more room. Okay, now I've taken the air filter cover and the air filter out, and you could see how there's so much more room to work on each of these 2 spark plugs. So it's an extra step, but I advise it. And then I'm unclipping this cover. Again, just a couple clips on each side. There might be an easier way, but not familiar with this cover, so I'm just gonna unsnap it like I did here and pop it off. So I just want to show you, after you pop this off, it'll just come out, and there's a little hook, see if you can see from the bottom right here where my pinky is, and on the other side it kind of goes up under. So just once you unclip it, wiggle it from underneath and pull down. Watch the clip where my pinky is. It's closest to the front of the car. It's really jammed in there, so be careful not to snap it, okay? So from learning from the driver's side, I'm going to do things in a sequence. So I've unloosened the coil screws next, and then I'll pull all 3 out, and then go after the spark plugs. So next, I took the connector off every coil right in a row. So the connectors are off. You can't see this one real well, but the connectors are off. Again, I'm trying to do things in series. Now I'll pop the coils and go after each spark plug. This is a configuration for the ratchet that I use for the back. I have the socket, which has a short extension built in, which I purchased at AutoZone. I have a small extension, then a large extension. I felt it was better to go from the front because I didn't get a really good straight connection in the back, I felt I was putting some slanted, you know, force on it. So anyway, that's what I did for the back. The rest will be easy. I put the third coil in. Now I'm going to put the middle coil in. Again, like the other side, pretty simple. Just pop them in and then pop the other one in. So I'm done putting all the coils back in. Now I'm putting the wire harnesses back in. You remember, as you put them, I use 2 fingers. Don't press on the wires, but use 2 fingers just to put even pressure till you hear a click on all 3. Next, I'll put 2 screws back in here and a screw back in here. And then I'll put the cover on and I'll show you the cover. So now I'm going to put the cover back on. I put all the coils back on, tighten these 2 screws, ready to go. One of the final moves. Put this cover back on. Remember, the 2 lips go from the bottom underneath, and then slide in the little clips to each one of these holes. So, and it's really tight in here, right by that aluminum coil right there, the rubber cord. It's really tight, so be careful, don't snap it. Just as a side note, I had put these higher airflow filters in. So you see at a typical Porsche, this is solid plastic. So this one opens up more air all around. And when I took this off again to access the spark plugs, but when you put it back on, just make sure you get a nice, good seal. You don't want to have any play. Then the trap door will go in through the guide there. Okay, then we'll put the top back on, screw that on, and that's it. So I'd say this whole job will probably take you, first time, about 2.5 hours. And but you probably saved yourself, I'm not sure what Porsche charges, but I would have gathered, since the plugs cost me about $100, probably around $750 to change spark plugs, but I'm not sure.